So thank you, ladies, and any gentlemen that might be in the house as well for coming to this workshop, Work-Life Alignment, because balance is BS. This has been a really popular topic that I've been talking about a lot. I do want to say I love an interactive crowd, so if you have a question, if there's something that if you want to raise your hand or put something in the comment, or as Maggie mentioned, email a question. I really believe that how we learn the best is through conversation. So please feel free to type something in and share it. And that's how I believe that we're going to learn the best, which is great. So I want to start off with one question that I'd like you to kind of keep in the back of your head as we're going through this whole webinar. And that question is, what does a truly fulfilling life look like to you? Not what do you want, not how much money do you want to make, but what does a truly fulfilling life look like to you? That's business, that's career, that's every different component. So be thinking about that as we're going through this, so you can kind of pull out what tips of information that you can get that's going to add to that truly fulfilling life that you're looking for. And I also want to say, please set an intention. I always like to ask people to set an intention for what you want from this training. Just really take a moment and think about what your intention is for the class and what you would like to take away. What would make the biggest amount of impact in your life today and in the future? Because when we have the intention of what we're looking for, we can really listen for and receive more of what it is that we need. And I just want to say my intention for you is that I really kind of just sort of disrupt and change your thinking about balance, even if it's just for a minute. You know, when we change our thinking, we can really change our world. And I'd really like to see things just shift up a little bit for you. So just a little bit about who I am. Again, my name is Lisa Danforth. I'm a 27-year, 5-time business owner. So I've definitely hit a lot of overwhelm, really gotten into the struggle of balance. And I will say that as I eat with each business that I've had and I've moved along, I was realizing that I was leaning more into the masculine paradigm of having to do and to push and to add and all of that to my plate. And that threw me out of, I put this into air quotes, out of balance. And the more that I've been in business, the longer that I've been in business, and the longer that I've really aligned my choices with the feminine side of me. So I'm approaching the business with more of my feminine side without denying my masculine side. I'm able to be a lot more within my business and not just do. And as I've done that within my business, within my career, all of that is when I've been able to grow exponentially, internally and externally. And it has been a long process. I'm going to share some of the good, bad, and the ugly today, just so that you can know what to avoid. But that's just a little bit about who I am. And I just want to say, please gift yourself this time. Really, just take the time, turn off your phone, don't multitask. If you have to, if you're staying at home, hang a little sign on your door that says, please don't disturb, and gift yourself this time so that you can receive what you came to this training for. Right? It's all about aligning our actions with what you want. So please just take a second, mute everything, turn off your phone, turn everything off, and gift yourself this time. So I'm going to just jump right in, really, and just talk about balance. And, can we all admit that the secret to balance, that balance that we seek, really isn't working harder and producing more? This is really what kind of pulls us out of the alignment, out of balance in the first place. And I also find that when we're looking at, oh my gosh, this is my life in balance or out of balance, it really highlights the gap of where we are right now rather than where we want to be. And when we're working harder, the law of diminishing return really kind of comes into play, and we wind up working longer, we wind up working harder, and we're producing less because we're not as effective and we're not as intentional in the work that we're doing. Not exactly those results that we're looking for, definitely. And when we come from that perspective of constantly needing to work harder, it leaves us with it feeling that there's never enough time, or worse, that we're never enough. And I'd love to know, does this resonate with any of you out there that are listening? Please type something into the chat. Let me know if this is resonating with you, because again, when we're leaning into having to do more and coming from a place of less, it really has us popping in and thinking about, do I have enough time? Am I enough? Can I really do this? And that gets it in our way. And then when we come from that perspective, we can be consumed by scarcity. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough support, tools, sleep, love, whatever it can be. And we can quickly, very quickly lose our perspective of that woman that we want to be, the business or the career that we want to build, the life that we want to live, right? That truly fulfilling life, but also the relationships that we want to experience, because we're so consumed with, trying to do more, finally achieving that balance, and that can really get in our way.
Lisa, I'm just going to jump in and say I'm seeing on the chat that it is definitely resonating with our attendees.
Oh, good. Thank you for popping in. I didn't see that come through the chat, so I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So too often, way too often, I find that our motivation for action is to feel that relief of checking things off from our endless to-do list. Has anyone ever put, I've done this multiple times, have you ever put something on your to-do list after you've done it simply so you can check it off? Because it just makes you feel better, right? So when we're just making choices to check things off our endless to-do list, it's not aligning our choices with where we want to go. And I have to say that so many of the women that I speak with want to feel like they're intentionally choosing their life instead of continually reacting to it. They want that work-life, that balance, and I'm putting that into air quote, but they just aren't sure what they need to do, to achieve it. And worse yet, they don't feel like they have the luxury to slow down and figure it out. I have heard this over and over and over again, and I've experienced it as well. When I get to this next level, I'll figure out what I need to do so I can create that balance or create that life that I really want. I'm going to bet a lot of you here can really relate to that. And when we come from a place of compassionate curiosity, is when we can really look at what is getting in the way here. How is it that we're trying to, that we don't have enough time to slow down and look at what we want to do so that we can actually speed up the success that we're looking to achieve? And I just want to be really clear here. When I say success, it's success according to you, what you want, what you need, not what others or society deems or needs or expects of you, but really getting clear on what success looks like for you. So sometimes we need to slow down in order to speed up. I like to think of it sort of in archery. When you've got that bow and you're pulling it back, you're actually stepping back, taking aim before you're launching. And we often need to do that so that we don't, so we're making the most efficient use of our time instead of reliving the wheel every day. And when we're constantly juggling and we're feeling depleted and we're out of that balance, it is nearly impossible to think about the future. Because here's the thing, we're just trying to survive today, right? Just let me get through today, and you start losing that clear intention and your focus. You start moving the boundaries around that are supporting you and doing what it is that you really want to and need to do to create the life that you want to live. But here's the big kicker. Our thoughts and our images of the future, what we're thinking about the future, it affects the future that we experience because we're having difficulty planning the future. And when we are thinking about the future, we're probably more than not thinking about the past, right, of what got us to this point, and I don't want it again, rather than what it is that we want. Now, if you've followed me for any length of time, if you've read any of my work or watched any of my videos, you can know that I am a huge, huge advocate of the importance of creating a clear, compelling vision for the business that you want, for the career that you want, for the relationships that you want. And for us to create that business of our dreams, the career of our dreams, we've got to be crystal clear in the vision of what it looks like to us. What does it feel like to us? That's why I asked the question in the beginning. We need to get really intentional and clear on what we want, and getting an idea, wrapping our mind around what does it look like? What does it feel like, right? Working to achieve work-life balance is absolutely no different. We need to understand what that alignment is that we need to get into those aligned actions so that we can make the choices that we want to make. And you'll find that I kind of swap the balance and the alignment back and forth a little bit. I do believe that balance is BS, but here's the thing. So many people Google work-life balance and it really resonates with them, whereas alignment doesn't always. But it's really, alignment is creating the choices, making choices within our life that are going to move us closer to that vision of what it is that we want. So we really do need a bigger why to say yes to, so that we can take the actions that are going to move us in the direction of the goals that we want. You know, a long-term vision really does help us with short-term decision making. When we're aligning our actions and our choices with our goals, we're able to achieve that work-life alignment, that work-life balance that we're really working so darn hard to achieve. But far too often we're saying yes to more without making room for it by saying no to something else. So we've got, 457 plates spinning in the air, and that really does lead to a life out of alignment, overwhelm, exhaustion. It's really tough to keep up. And again, I call BS. I do believe that balance is BS, right? I've yet to work with a woman or talk with women who wants to have all of the pieces in their life weigh the same, just compartmentalized out. And it's not about making everything even. It's about aligning our actions, our thoughts, and here's the thing, our priorities. We need to have priorities with our vision of what a truly fulfilling, intentional life is for us. Truly intentionally choosing aligned actions, our words, our beliefs, and moment to moment is what is going to consistently move us closer to our goals and to our vision so that we can achieve what it is that we really want within this one big precious life that we have. And knowing your vision is going to help you be more empowered, like you're choosing your life, right? Instead of continually reacting to it. Less at the mercy of circumstances and less at the mercy of other people's expectations, needs, and demands. Is this resonating with you? Like, do you feel like so many people are placing these demands on you, and it's so hard to focus on what it is that you not only want but need to do to achieve the success that you're looking for? Or sometimes there's so many demands on you that don't feel like you've got the luxury to look at what does that truly fulfilling vision look like to me. I want to talk about boundaries, because boundaries are a huge component of aligning our actions and creating a truly aligned life. Excuse me. And with an aligned action plan, like creating that really vision, we need boundaries that are going to support our choices. Anyone here struggle with boundaries? I don't know a soul that doesn't struggle with boundaries at some point. Please raise your hand, put a comment in the chat box. Let me know if boundaries are an issue for you, or if you've kind of figured it out. Definitely let us know with that as well, because this is where we can share and support each other by really getting clear on what has worked for people. But here's the thing, so many people have a negative image about boundaries, right? They're divisive. They're this wall that slams down. You're over here, I'm over here, and we really can't connect. It feels like such a harsh thing, boundaries do. We've been kind of taught that, especially as women, right? We're the nurturers. We want to caretake, but we need to have boundaries so that we can have the respect for ourselves and really build the life that we want, so that we can serve at a higher level, so that we can take care of all of the people that are around us that we want to experience. I really prefer to think of boundaries as more of like a gate or a fence, right? So I can let people in and out as I see fit, maybe even keeping some people out because they're just too consuming for me. But it's protecting my garden that I'm growing, that I'm tending to. So sometimes I do need to close that gate so I can spend time in there by myself, right? That is a boundary. I'm a firm believer that boundaries are the bridge to the success that we seek. So boundaries are imperative if we're going to live a life that is truly joy-filled and fulfilling for us. Here's one of the things that I like to say about boundaries, if you have a hard time with saying no, is to and anyone here, raise your hand, anyone here have a hard time with saying no? I know I've struggled with that, and I still struggle with that on occasion, but one of the tips that I really like to put out there for anyone who has a difficult time saying no is to say, I need to get back to you on that, or say, can you get back to me on that? And that creates enough of a buffer, right? So we're not adding more to our plate. We're not getting into the overwhelm, and we're actually intentionally making a choice of, is this adding to my life? Is this pulling me into the direction of where I want to go, or is it just adding more because I'm having difficulty saying no? And when we create that buffer and we're able to say, can you get back with me on that? Get back to me in a week. then that allows us to really look at our calendar and look at our values and say, you know what, this may be a great choice, but it's pulling me off from my goal, or what the heck was I thinking? There's no way I can do this. If I do this, then I have to put my career, my business, and my family on the back burner. And I also want to give another little tip on this as well, which I found to be incredibly helpful, is when someone pushes you, because if you are someone that's always said yes, that rarely says no, and is always agreeing to do things, you've agreed to play that dance, right? So when you say no, someone might be like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what normally goes on. And they might give you a little bit of a push to say yes. Here's what I always recommend, and it works beautifully, because it's a soft no. It's, well, if you need an answer right now, then I'm afraid the answer is going to have to be no. But if you want to get back with me in a week, I'd be happy to think about it. And again, that creates enough of a buffer so you can choose, is this adding to my life? Is this adding to my goals? Or is it taking it away from my family that and I'm going to have to work the weekends and not make it to the soccer game? It's so incredibly important to really understand what you're saying yes to. Again, that vision is going to help you say yes and no to the things that are moving you closer and the things that are moving you further away. I love this quote by Anne Lamott. No is a complete sentence. And I remember when my kids were younger and I would say no, and they'd be like, oh, what do you mean? And I'd be like, was it the N or the O? Like, we get the ability to say no. We have that choice to say no. And here's the thing, we don't need to explain and backtrack and, well, I know I can't because I've got to drive the kids or I've got to do something for my mom or whatever. We get to say no. It is not our responsibility how the other person reacts. It's our responsibility to be respectful in the no, right? It was our responsibility of how we show up, but it's not our responsibility how someone reacts. We have absolutely no control over how the person is going to react. So cut in your boundaries. Make sure your choices are in alignment with your vision. And saying no is moving you closer to your goal so you can spend more time doing what you want and less time doing what's basically sucking the life out of you. It's a beautiful word, no. But keep in mind, here's where we kind of get tripped up, right? It's simple, but it's not necessarily so easy. So as you start moving towards, aligning your actions with your goals and with your desires, here's the thing. Old habits die hard. So do old beliefs, old stories that we've got running in our head, and old ways of relating to other people, and our old ways of reacting to others. Does anyone ever gotten caught up in that, right? So we get caught up in our history of something rather than having that compassionate curiosity in the moment and maybe shifting what's going on for us and not getting hooked by what other people are thinking or saying, or our body can really speak a lot. We don't always have to have voices, right? So when we can really look at who we want to be in that moment, we can lean into being more of that woman, right? And as you move from those old habits into a more aligned and really truly empowered way of being, you're going to feel that strong pull back to the familiar when things get comfortable. Or, like saying no to a really cool opportunity because you realize that it's taking your eye off from your goal and away from your precious time. And I'm going to put this in air quotes, out of balance, right? So really getting super clear on that. And what I often hear sort of at this point is, why do I continue to make the same choices? So often we're making the choices because it's who we believe ourselves to be, right? And here's the thing, take a meta view. I like to say, watch the movie. Don't be in the movie. When I was in karate, my shihan always used to say that to me. Watch the movie, don't be in the movie. When you're in the movie, you can only see the moving parts that are directly in front of you, right? But when you're watching the movie, you can see all the different moving parts that might be triggering you, that might be, a pitfall for you. So when you can have that meta view, you can say, oh, whenever I get up on stage, whenever I meet with this person, whenever I'm doing X, Y, and Z, I always get triggered and my boundaries get, negotiable. And then I get agitated, and then everything around me is sort of falling apart. So take that meta view and really have some compassionate curiosity about what are the triggers that are moving you out of alignment with who you want to be and the goals of what you want to achieve, so that you can have those triggers, those habits set in place, so that will support you in making more aligned choices of really what it is that you want. When we can see that trigger for why we're adding more to our plate and not saying no, when we know that we should be taking things off from our plate rather than adding it on, just stepping back and looking at how our choices are getting in the way of the business that we want, the career that we want, the relationships that we want. And here's the thing too, our self-care. It takes a while to embed these new habits into our daily practice. It really does. So have some compassionate curiosity for yourself along the way. And let go of the judgment, please. Judgment will not get you anywhere. Judgment is going to keep you stuck making the same choices. And when you can come at these triggers, when you're taking this meta view, coming at them with compassionate curiosity and no judgment is going to be the leverage for you to be making aligned choices, so that you can create more alignment, more joy, more fulfillment, more impact, and more income. Let's be really, get down to the bottom line of it when we're doing this. So compassionate curiosity and no judgment, please. And the toddler effect. I just love this picture. It makes me laugh every time I see this. Not everyone's going to be happy when you start establishing boundaries around you, when you start clearly communicating what it is that you want, what your goals are, what you're willing to do, and what you're not willing to do. Not everyone's going to be on board. Not everyone's going to be happy, right? So I call that the toddler effect. That toddler in the grocery store that knows just what pitch to hit for the parents to be throwing the candy and the ball and the whatever, like, here, whatever, just bribing you to stop screaming. The people around us are very similar. Some are intentional about it. Some really aren't intentional about it. But not everyone's going to like it that you're saying no, that you're choosing you're choosing your joy, your success, and you're establishing boundaries. So expect the toddler effect, but don't accept it, please. Just be like, oh, that's what's going on. And remember, you're in control of your emotions. Someone else's reaction is not your responsibility to quell. I find so many women are willing to make themselves completely uncomfortable to make sure that everyone around them, or majority of people around them, are comfortable. And then we wind up putting ourselves on the back burner, our business on the back burner, our career on the back burner, even our family on the back burner, when we continue to make everyone else comfortable. So just expect that toddler effect and don't accept it, please. And I'd love to know, has anyone experienced the toddler effect? Have you had someone, sort of rear the little horns in their head that are like, no, I think I liked it better when you agreed to do everything and always picked up the kids and whatnot. Please put something in the chat if you would, or just raise your hand. I'd love to hear that everyone's out there sort of nodding their head. Perfectionism. Anyone struggle with perfectionism here? That is definitely something that I find is it will get in the way of your success. It gets in the way of joy. It really, that pursuit of perfectionism can just grab us by the ankles. And then we often lose exactly what it is that we're striving for with the perfectionism. And we move straight into overwhelm, right? We're crossing the I's, we're dotting the T's, we're making sure that everything is set. We're, I like to call it designing at the whiteboard, just making sure that absolutely everything is perfect. And so many of the women that I work with and speak with say that it's their perfectionism or their fear of failure that's gotten them where they are today, right? That's driven them, it's pushed them, it's moved them. It's, that perfectionism, I won't put anything else out until it's, it's absolutely perfect. And I say, yes, you know what? Perfectionism can motivate you to be that meticulous worker bee, right? Crossing the I's, dotting the T's. But it will never motivate you to be a game changer. That's just too scary, and it keeps us stuck. It grabs you by the ankles and doesn't allow you to move. If you are moving, it's just at a snail's pace. And I also just want to throw this out there too. I have found, just look at this from a meta view of, with compassionate curiosity. Sometimes perfectionism is a really great way to kind of play it safe. We might be putting ourselves out there, but that continuous refining and, endless polishing of everything really kind of keeps us safe and not really exposing our work and exposing for us for who we are. That perfectionism can really drive us. But I ask you, at what cost? And I love this quote. I'm going to start off, I'm going to go back, double tapping here. Along with perfectionism, I find shame is really, as Brene Brown says, and I absolutely love this quote, when perfectionism is driving, shame is riding shotgun, and fear is the annoying backseat driver. Love that quote because it's so true. It just really cuts right through, right? So I just want to use a quick example of a client of mine who was stuck in shame with perfectionism, just so that you can kind of see where it can really trigger you. She'd been working at a job full-time, but she was also launching her own career. And she had said by the end of 2019, she wanted to be fully on her own, absolutely working on her own, and done with the full-time job that she had. But I noticed that she kept self-sabotaging herself. She'd take too much on, and then things were falling through the cracks, and she wasn't following through with everything that she said that she wanted to do. When this was happening, I kind of called her out very lovingly and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And she broke down in tears and said, "I didn't expect to say this." She's like, "But I'm finally comfortable. I've never been at a point in my life where I'm just comfortable, and I don't want to launch on my own full-time right now." Right? So she was stuck in the shame of telling people that she'd changed her mind and she had shifted gear. But once she unhooked from what everyone else thought about her and she decided to go with what filled her up, she is living a more aligned life. Her choices fill her up rather than adding more to her plate. And she's going for it in 2020, and that just feels really good for her. And I remember a time in my business when I lost my voice. I was completely stuck in shame because on the outside, I had a very successful catering business. On the outside, I was very strong, very powerful. I was running this amazing business, but at home, I had lost my voice. And I had a great deal of shame around that. And what I found is shame loves silence. So I kept plugging through thinking that I'd be able to figure it out on my own. And then I just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And when I finally reached out and really started connecting with people about this, I found that there was a lot of other people that were going through it as well. So if you're feeling stuck in shame, please don't sit in it by yourself, because shame loves silence and it's impossible to move out of it without the support and being able to talk it through. Because once you voice what's going on for you, the shame no longer has the grip for you. And I want to touch a little bit about self-image. I find that it's such an important component of making aligned choices. And here's the thing, whether we really realize it or not, each one of us carries this mental blueprint or a picture of ourselves, who we are, that image. It's our own conception of the sort of person that I am. And this image is built up from hard-won beliefs. Here's the thing, we will not do anything that's inconsistent with who we believe ourselves to be. And that's really difficult. So when we're trying to put ourselves out there and we're saying no to something, that's adding to our plate, we have the self-image of who we need to be. So that's when we're so often making choices we don't want to make, getting the results that we don't want to get, yet we still do it and question, why do I continue to make the same darn choices? And I would just really implore you, look at your self-image. Who do you believe yourself to be? I have said for so many years, we live into who we believe we are, even if that belief is not true. And I'm going to bet everyone on this call can think of a person that they know that's not living up to their true and full potential because of their image of themselves, their belief about themselves. The same thing goes for us as well. So take a moment and look at what your self-image is. And like I said, why do I continue making the choices? It's because of the belief that we have of what's going on. It's incredibly important to look at that. Self-image will determine all of your actions, all of your feelings, all of your behaviors, and here's the thing, even your abilities. They're all consistent with your self-image. So if you're continuing making choices and saying yes to things that you don't want to say yes to, or saying no to things that you desperately want to do, but you're afraid of, looking silly, or you're not going to be able to do it, really look at what your self-image is and get a true handle on that. And start taking out one by one the negative beliefs about yourself. And you need to put a positive in there, or else another negative one is going to slip in there. So just get clear on that. Who do you want to be, and start behaving like that person. Take one or two actions at a time and start taking out the negative and start putting in the positive. Self-care. I can't stress this enough. This is such an important part about creating a truly aligned life. And self-care is directly connected to creating our work-life alignment. I'd love for anyone here to raise their hand or make a comment if you've ever said, or if you've ever thought, someday I'm going to take better care of myself, but right now I have to X, right? Take care of the kids, do this, do that, and we're continually putting ourselves on the back burner. Here's the thing, when we feel better, we do better, physically, emotionally, and financially. So it makes sense that how you treat yourself, right, impacts your career, your success, and your relationships. It impacts how you're acting with aligned choices.
Lisa, I'm seeing some comments here in the chat. Yes, people are saying this, and someone's saying they generally say this about 3 times a week.
Ah, wow. I just want to say, have some compassionate curiosity of why are you saying that? What is your belief? What's getting in the way, right, for you to make a choice for yourself? What's the belief about yourself or the situation of how you need to show up that's making you choose things other than self-care? Again, compassionate curiosity with absolutely no judgment is how we're going to shift things. Making choices from the same view and the same perception as what got us into the situation of having to ask ourselves this 2 or 3 times a week is only going to create more of the same, right? And when we have that self-care, when we're feeling better about ourselves, is when we can make aligned choices and create, I'm going to put this air quote, balance that we seek. And studies are really showing that self-care helps with our energy, right? And low energy, studies show, correlate with overall lower performance, lower happiness, lower enthusiasm for taking on challenges, it lowers your perception of your success versus someone else's, the other peer or colleague's success. Talk about throwing us out of balance when we're comparing ourselves to someone else and we're always feeling less than. So please put self-care on the front burner. There is a reason, I know you probably heard it 100 times, why they say, put your oxygen mask on first. I could go on and on and on about this, but I know we're running out of time. So I'm going to move on to this. Our buckets are not an infinite space, but so often we act like it's infinite. So tell me, when you're exhausted, when you're giving to others, when you just need a nap, or maybe you just need to take a bath, are you showing up in the way that you want to be showing up? We so often put ourselves out there because we feel we need to, but then there's this resentment because we're not nurturing, we're not taking care of ourselves. So I would question your belief that you need to always put your kids first. Yes, they do require a lot. But if your bucket is empty, how fully are you showing up for them? How present are you with them? How joyful are you with them? Because when we're exhausted, we show up differently. And again, our low energy correlates to so many different negativity points within us, right? You're going to eat worse. You're not going to exercise. So taking care of yourself, that doesn't mean spending 40 hours a week taking care of yourself. That might mean a 30-minute bath. So look at what would a clear vision of taking care of yourself be? 30 minutes here and there, an hour here and there, and start implementing that. And give the gift of transparency. Let those around you know that things are changing. I know that I've been the one that's always going to do this, but I trust that you're going to be able to take care of it. start nurturing yourself a little bit. I'm going to bet you will show up more fully. You'll be more present. There'll be a lot more joy. And it's quality, not necessarily quantity all the time. And that really leads into this beautiful quote, which I absolutely love, by Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. We get to choose, ladies. Sometimes that means choosing our attitude, right? When our kids are sick and we've got to stay up all night with them, yes. When someone calls out and you've got to work late, whatever it may be, yes. When this is your business or this is your career. But we get to choose what our response is and how we react, whether we say yes, whether we say no. So often we're willing to give up that freedom of choice. And we are always at choice. Again, whether it's just our attitude in the moment. Choose joy. We can be stuck in the negativity, and that won't get us anywhere or anyone else either. Love this, love this, love this quote. So I just want to ask, for creating that truly aligned life, really ask yourself every day, where is your attention? Where are you placing your attention? What is your intention? What is your intention for the day? What is your intention for the woman that you want to be? What is the intention for the success? What is your intention for the time that you're spending with your kids? And making sure that your attention and your intention are aligned. And you'll find that you'll have experienced so much more joy, so much more fulfillment, and I dare say you will experience so much more impact and income. Learn to be unapologetically you. Show up as you are. Say no to the things that are taking you away from the woman that you are, the goals that you want, the life that you want to live, right? So that you can create more impact, more income, joy. We all want more of that, right? And that is what I've got for you today. I do want to say that at the very bottom, I do have a 12-page ebook on my website. At the very bottom of this slide, lisadanforth.com/free. You can sign up for the ebook. It's called Communicate Powerfully Without Apology. There's a lot of great stuff in there. Or if any of you are interested in jumping on a chat with me, I'd love to just have a free chat with you. Just look at what's going on for you. If you look at that bit.ly link right there, bit.ly, chat with Lisa D, click on that and let's set up a time to connect. And I'd love to open it up for any questions, any comments, any feedback. Please share what's worked for you so other people can learn from it. Share what you're struggling with so you can get the support of this community. There's a wealth of information, a wealth of love that's showing up here that's looking to support you.
Thanks, Lisa. That was really great. And we'll open it up for Q&A now, as Lisa mentioned. So if you have a question, you can use the chat box or you can email info@savvyladies.org. And I see here in the chat a question about how to overcome frustration when you don't see or achieve results despite great efforts. Do you have some comments on that?
Can you repeat that for me? How to achieve?
Yes, how to overcome frustration when you don't see or achieve results despite great efforts.
Excellent question. I would ask, do you have a crystal clear vision of what it is that you truly want? Right? We need a bigger why so that we're not adding everything to our plate. When you're putting in the effort, is your effort, all of that effort, truly aligned? Or is it moving you closer, or is it keeping you busy? So often we can do all of these things, but it's really keeping us busy rather than moving us closer to a goal. That's why boundaries are so important. Saying no is so important. That frustration can often come because the actions that we're taking aren't fully aligned. Again, they may be busy and they may look like we're acting in a big way, but it might actually be pulling us off from our goal. And what is it that's so frustrating? You know, and that may sound like a very silly question, but have that compassionate curiosity. What do I find frustrating that's going on for me right now? What are my choices in this? What have my actions been to contribute to this? Look at it from that meta view, not in it, but look at the different choices that you've made that have brought you to this point. And I'm going to bet you'll probably find a few that you can tweak that will start aligning your choices and your actions into a more effective way of showing up so that you do get the results that you want?
Okay.
Great question.
Thanks, Lisa. And we have another question for you, which is saying, I know that I'm an explainer. I feel I have to come up with reasons why I can't get something done. And I'm trying to work on this, but do you have any guidance for me?
I do. I would look at what your self-image is. That is such a big one. You know, why is it that you feel the need to explain? What does it mean to you if you're not explaining what it is that you're doing? If you're just quiet, what does it say about you? So often we feel the need to explain because we want the person to understand, you know, what we're doing and acknowledge what we're doing, or to guard our time. This is why boundaries are so incredibly important. And I would really ask you to start saying, stating your boundary and not explaining. I just did a little video on this. It's called the awkward pause. Lean into that awkward pause when you say no, and not feeling the need to explain of what's going on. I'm going to back up to what I said before. It's your responsibility for your boundary, for speaking your truth. It's not your responsibility how someone else reacts. So what is it that's going through your mind and it's subconscious, so you're going to have to really sit with this one for a little bit, especially since it's been habitual over the years, and look at what is your belief about why you feel the need to explain.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awkward pause. No, I can't stress that one enough. Allow the awkward pause. Connect it to what it is that you want and who you want to be, and start doing it for 2 weeks and seeing what the difference is within your self-image, your self-worth, and how other people are reacting to you.
Okay, great advice. Thank you. Another question for you is saying, I was promoted about a year ago and find myself putting in more and more hours at work just to stay afloat. I'm committed to work, but I feel like it's all I do. How do I plan some fun social time with friends when I'm really working all the time?
Excellent, excellent, excellent question. Boundaries are a big one. And I would really, I know you're at work, so it's not your business and you're not establishing the work, the time, but I would go to the boss and say, I would love to do these extra things, but I only have a certain amount of time. What do you suggest that I prioritize? So often we take things on our plate, go to meetings, take things on that we don't particularly need to add onto our plate, but we're so afraid of establishing those boundaries and saying, gosh, I'd love to do that, but my plate is already full. What do you recommend me taking off from my plate? Also, really connecting to fun. There's been so many studies on fun. There's been so many studies on health and that self-care, right? So that when you are taking care of yourself, stats show that you will show up more within your day. You're going to be more efficient and more effective in your day so that you can get more done in less time. When you're exhausted, there is that law of diminishing return. So schedule the time for yourself, just like it's a part of your business plan, right? It's a part of your day. Actually schedule it in. There is a really great book that I would recommend to you. It's called The Power of Full Engagement. It's these two gentlemen who coached professional athletes, and they really saw that such a minute difference between two different athletes that looked the same, but one was continually outperforming. And it was always rest. That was the one component, was to rejuvenate themselves. Now that might be 30 minutes at a time. It might be, a weekend, but get super clear on what does rest and fun look like to you, and how can you implement that into smaller bite-sized chunks throughout your day and throughout your week. And go back to your boss, I would say, and ask, what is it that you'd like for me to take off from my plate? Because it literally is, I can't add anything else. I want to do it, but you help me prioritize the list, and I'll be happy to do it. It's difficult, but I have found that it to be incredibly effective.
Okay, thank you. And I believe this is the last question for you, which is, I would like to set more boundaries. However, when I do, I feel guilty, like I'm abandoning a family member or a friend. Do you have some advice for me?
Yes, I do. I would, it's this question pops up so often. I think it's very related to the earlier one as well, is, ask those around you what are important to them, because you'd like to make the important meetings. You'd like to to put them as a priority, but they can't be a priority at all time. But connect to, who is the woman that you want to be? Thinking of your future self, do you want to be seen as a woman who is always giving to others but not taking care of herself? Because we teach other people how to treat us. We're also showing our kids how to treat us and how they should behave as an adult. And sometimes it is incredibly helpful to look at, what am I teaching my kids when I'm constantly putting myself on the back burner, right? It is self-care. It's interesting. All of these are seeming to boil down to that self-care piece. We don't feel the right to put our care on the front burner, but we don't show up fully in the relationships. We're not present. We're not as joyful. It is about quality, not quantity. So who is it that you need to be to establish the boundaries that will support you in being the woman that you want to be, the parent, the wife, the friend that you want to be, so that you can experience the joy in the life that you want to live? What does a truly fulfilling life look like to you? Is it not having any boundaries and doing everything for everyone else and not giving to yourself? This is why it's so important to really get clear on, what is your vision for a truly fulfilling life? Who is the woman that you need to be? What do you need to let go of to allow yourself to gift yourself boundaries? That doesn't mean that it's divisive. That doesn't mean you're not going to focus on the other people, but it means that you get to have some time to yourself. This is one big, beautiful life. I'm going to share a study done by a woman by the name of Bronnie Ware, who is a palliative care nurse out of Australia. She took care of people in the last few weeks and days of their lives, and she would always talk with them, right? And she found a golden thread. She wrote a book called The Top 10 Regrets of the Dying, and the number one regret is, I wished I had lived a life true to myself and not what others had expected of me. So I would say lean into that a little bit. Who is the woman that you want to be this year, in this moment, at the end of your life? And start being her without apology. You're worth it. You truly are.
All right, well, I want to thank you, Lisa, for a really excellent presentation. And I'm seeing in the chat just more messages of thanks and that there's a lot to think about from your presentation. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We will be sending out this information from Lisa if you didn't have a chance to write it down, so you can look for that email soon. And thank you again so much, Lisa. It was really excellent.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up and taking time out of your precious day. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Maggie and Lisa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.